Nomadic life. God told Abraham to go and live in the land of Canaan. The Bible describes Abraham as a nomad. He lived in a tent and moved often with his flocks and herds to other places. The tents used by Abraham and his family were probably similar to those used by desert nomads in the Middle East. These tents were constructed of cloth woven from the hair of goats and supported by poles. This cloth is ideal for living in the desert. It is loose enough to allow air to circulate in that hot climate. On the rare occasions when it does rain there, the goat hair expands and the tent becomes almost waterproof. The goats raised in the Middle East are usually black, so the tents there are also black. Tents there were usually open on one side during the daytime. On hot days, it was possible to roll up several sides of the tent so it would be cooler inside. Hospitality for guests was very important to the nomads. In Genesis chapter 18, we read that on one hot summer afternoon, Abraham was sitting by the entrance to his tent receiving guests. When it came time for the nomads to move on to another location, they used camels for transportation. Because the terrain was often rough, carts and wagons were difficult to use. An adult camel, however, could move across the rough terrain easily while carrying more than 200 kilograms. Camels are first mentioned in Genesis 12:16 among the possessions of Abraham. There are two kinds of camels. They are the two-humped Bactrian and the one-humped dromedary camels. It was the dromedary camel that was most common in the land of Canaan. Because of the hump on the camel's back, a specially designed wooden saddle was necessary for riding on a dromedary camel. When camp was set up, the saddle was removed from the camel. Then the saddle was placed in the tent, where it was covered with blankets and served as a stool. Parts of Israel with less annual rainfall produced only enough vegetation for the grazing of animals. Sheep and goats ate from what grew wild. These animals ate not only grass, but also leaves and shoots of trees. Whenever the animals had eaten all the food available to them in one place, the shepherd would lead them on to another place so they could eat. Sometimes, shepherds would fight each other for the right to lead their flocks into certain areas. It was this kind of fighting between their shepherds that caused Abraham and Lot to separate and go different ways. At the end of each day, the shepherd would lead his flock to his camp and place them in an enclosed area. He did this to keep them from wandering off and also to protect them from wild animals. Winter can be very cold, especially in the hill country where sheep and goats were raised. The hair or wool of sheep grows long. In the spring season, as the weather gets warmer, the shepherd will shear the animals to get their wool. Shearing the wool was a very important time during the shepherd's life. The wool could then be made into cloth for clothing, tents, floor coverings, bags, and to make other useful things. The wool was also traded for things like grain which the shepherd needed.